Hello beautiful people, welcome back to yet another video. Today we are again in this beautiful city of Kolkata, India. Today we're going to talk about three P's of photography: people, places and perspective. All I want to do this morning is address how I approach people, how I try to incorporate them with the place I'm in, and then with the right perspective in order to create a beautiful photo on the streets. People are very generous in this city. I mean, they don't mind getting photographed. That's what I've been telling you guys from last few months. My goal for today is to tell you how you can connect that person with something that represents the city, or in a frame that has context more about the city with right perspective. So follow along with me as I explore the city a little bit. I'm in the flower market area, so I'll just see if I can manage to get few frames for you guys. Just next to me, there's a guy washing and a couple of guys going to fill their bucket with the water from the river. I have this beautiful form of these people. So what I try to do is frame those people with highlight, and I have some motion connecting them with the bridge in the background in order to create a contextual image that represents this city. I'm going to break down these three topics one by one. Like, let's say, first I want to cover people. The way I start my day about photographing people is, first I try to observe and then I try to engage. Like, I'm observing the whole scene from a little far. Like, I can see guys just washing their clothes, a few people taking shower against the bridge, and I have the beautiful silhouette. I'm observing. I've already got my wide shot. Now it's time for me to just go close and engage with them. I'll try to go and see if I can bring something into action and photograph. Yeah, so I love, look at these guys. I'm just waiting for a beautiful form. Yeah, there he goes. So I'm trying to engage with them, and the cloud's beautiful today. There's beautiful light on the bridge. I just came here and asked like if I can take few photos of them, and the guys were like, yeah, you just do your stuff. You're not disturbing us, so we got no problem. So I'm just trying to be as close as possible to these people. So yeah, this is an example for like when you engage with them, you end up like creating something interesting. So there's 2 points that I want to touch on to the next is you can do candid photos, and then you can have a eye contact and do more intimate photos. When you have a scene, when you have something ready and you have people around them, I guess you just need to start shooting. And if they say anything, then you probably just leave. Otherwise, you know that you have access and people don't have any problem with you photographing. Once you know that you have the access, then utilize that time. And once you're done with your candid photos, you can ask those people if they will just stay still for you, and you can just make a nice portrait or like nice engaging photo in which they are looking at you. The third point that I want to touch on while photographing people is one of my favorite ones. I'm a huge fan of human gesture. Indian people have really amazing gestures when it comes to sitting or doing their random things. I just try to get their hands or legs or body posture or something like that. Those gestures are my favorite to photograph. If you can combine it with some form of human expression or like facial expression, the photo just goes on a different level. It's kind of hard to get both in one frame. That's why street photographers are hunting like for a week and they get one photo. But I think if you work hard and you stay in one scene for quite a bit, I think you can get it. It's achievable. I'll try to shoot few examples and see around the bridge or around the river if I can pull that off. So I can see this uncle sweeping the floors. I like the form he has, so I'm gonna move myself in order to get that. It's very hard for me right now to compose him with the expression, but the gesture is pretty great. But once I'm done, I'll just try to go close, maybe because he's unbothered. So I'll go close and get something. Okay, so the kids here at my favorite wrestling place are just exercising, warming up, and I'm just trying to get their hand gestures. Okay, so this guy is also close to me, so I have a very interesting scenario here where the guy lifting weights got some sort of facial expression, and then the boys in the background have really good gesture. Another point I want to touch is you see the light in the background at the bridge and light on the face of this person is pretty awesome. So I'm just going to combine these two together in order to make a photo of this guy. Ah, the light's gone. Light's gone, but I might just wait for another second or few minutes if it comes back. Okay, so the light's back and I'm waiting for light to fall on this guy. Yeah. There's a bird that just went in. There's not a lot of colors, but I can, because the light's very dramatic right now, so I can just do both silhouettes and yeah, I'm just waiting for something extra to happen in the frame. Okay, go a little close. Yeah, thanks, bye. When you're photographing something that represents a place, the another trick that I always use is to have an iconic corner or like an iconic frame that has been taken by a million of people, and then I'll try to find a little unexplored corner of the same exact thing. Like this bridge is super famous. I think everybody who visits Kolkata takes a picture of this bridge, and this is the place where they generally take the photo from. But if we move a little bit inside the market and we try to sneak out a little bit from different corners, we can get maybe different frames, and we can get a small corner from which I can frame the bridge, which might look a little more interesting. Another aspect that I try to use when I'm photographing people is to have like a wide and a close portrait, you know. Wide is, I guess, if I combine him with the shot, with all the mirror, that'll be wider. I'm trying to get all the pictures of the goddess. The only problem here is the guy just got stunned by me pulling out the camera. So this is like my wide photo. Now I'm gonna just move in or I'm gonna move in and use that light to create a close-up. थोड़ा सा इधर आओगे भैया? इसमें हाथ ऐसे रखो. Yeah, look at that. That light is so good. उधर देखो थोड़ा सा. This is so good. If you ever come to flower market to photograph, try to find out this barber shop. He always lets you shoot, no problem whatsoever. Always had a smile. I enjoy him so much. Thank you, uncle. Thank you so much. Bye. So the second topic I have for today is places. Generally, for me, place represents context in our photos. When you have a lot of action, when you have someone, but you have a contextual background to it, a background that represents a certain place, like framing this thing was a part of this whole thing, because I wanted to have these flowers in my background or around me so that I could tell that it's a flower market. And it would have been super interesting if I had a poster or if I had a drawing in like some Bengali language behind me that would just say that, okay, this is the flower market from West Bengal. And then if I had something that represented Kolkata around the background, then it will become like a flower market in West Bengal in the Kolkata city. That's how I try to interpret places in my image. For me, place is all about context. For me, I try to get the essence of place in my background, or you can get it in foreground also. Maybe if someone's wearing a local attire from this place or a festival, in my foreground, I can also depict the place, okay, which place it is. To take a picture that has a sense of place, a lot of the times I try to do multiple layers in one image. Like here, what I can see is colors are different. There are people working, there's someone sleeping, and then the most important thing that's going to represent the place is that poster. Because of that linguistic poster, it's going to represent that this is Kolkata, because the language is Bengali. If someone who knows Bengali, they can just know that, okay, this picture was taken in Kolkata. I'm just trying to bring few layers, and this guy's smoking. Okay, so there's another guy coming up with the flowers on his head. I'll try to put him in the foreground, and then my background's kind of fixed. So, okay, he stopped. Okay, good. There's another guy coming up with the umbrella. So if you can figure out a background, you will always have so many things to put together in one place and make the image. All you just gotta do is move from one place to another place in order to do these kind of images. The shade of the light, the people, flower, everything is just interesting here. Another thing that you can do in order to represent a place is have a color that represents the city. I mean, none other than yellow taxis, or the color yellow represents Kolkata. This is like the best example of representing colors. What I'm going to do is combine this taxi with the yellow flowers or these marigold flowers, and having the bridge in the background in order to complete my story of the color, context, and the place. We moving on to our third and last topic of the day, which is perspective. For me, I think perspective is a technical term. It can be philosophical term also when you are dealing with emotional angle of it. But in photography, or in today's episode, what I want to talk about, perspective as in forms of the technical terms like shooting over the shoulders, doing reflections, doing like tilting your camera, doing Dutch angles, symmetry, asymmetry, everything that helps to compose your images. A perspective is something that you think about. Perspective is something that you carefully incorporate in your images. It's something that you can manage. It's something that's completely dependent on you or your thoughts. Rest other things that we were talking about, like people, places, and all that, those are the things that just happens, okay, that you don't compose. But with right perspective, you can make your subject or stories that you're trying to tell even a little better. I'm going to try to shoot few things here, trying to shoot different angles or different perspective of images. So follow along with me for a few minutes in order to explore what different kind of perspectives we can use on the streets while we are out to shoot. One of the perspective I use sometimes in order to put people in the right place is sometimes I use higher angle like this, because I can see the flower up here and then the flowers up there, and then there's some space up here in between. If I go a little bit higher and wait for someone to pop in, I can manage to get a frame. I'm just waiting for someone to get in my frame, and I can photograph. Look at this guy. He's gonna go sit there. Probably if he comes back now. So he's coming back now. It's not working out. I can see this guy just working out here. Just gonna use the higher angle in order to get the right colors. Another higher angle that we can use in any place we are, if you try to climb up a building or something like that, that just gives a different perspective of a place. Generally, when we are in the flower market, this is the most basic angle of flower market, but it's just nice to see. Generally, I photograph it like this, and there's always someone with something. Look at that guy carrying a big chunk of something on his head. So if I can have him in my foreground, let's say I can wait also for a yellow taxi to just go from there in order to give the context about place. Things like that, if you start comparing and combining these things together, they just give you a nice perspective of a place. Another perspective that we can use, because we use higher angle, so definitely there can be times when you can use the lower angle in order to create some visual narrative. I can see that Baba on the bridge just chilling. I might just go and shoot a lower angle in order to see what I can get. Look at that. I'm going low so that I can get the bridge, or I can combine him with the bridge, getting that bus in the background or the red bus in the background. That's pretty awesome. Here you go. These two perspectives are really interesting, you know, like shooting from the higher angle, shooting from the lower angle. They also signifies when you're trying to do a portrait or when you're trying to photograph people with these angles. You use a lower angle on someone when you want to glorify them as a big personality, as someone super important. But that's when you use the lower angle. When you shoot someone, like let's say your subject's here and you're shooting them from a higher angle, you're trying to suppress them. I guess that's what people interpret from these angles. But for me, the higher perspective, I try most of the time I try to give a sense of place or location with that perspective. I don't try to use like a higher angle in order to create portraits. If I have someone work in an environment, then I can use that angle in order to get the more context of the place. Okay, another perspective that most of the time we try to use is over the shoulder. I can see this guy looking down the market. If I go a little bit closer, if I go a little bit like maybe right here, and yeah, I'm like shooting through over his shoulder. Just gonna ask him, bhaiya, look at that. So I'm shooting over the shoulder, getting the flower market down there and having him in the foreground. He moved, but if I shoot again over the shoulder, I might just get the bridge in the background. You can use this perspective in order to connect a human being with a place. Another few perspectives that I'm not gonna photograph right now, but I think it's nice to talk about, and I'll dump some photos here for reference. A lot of the times I use symmetry and asymmetry. I use a lot of people in different layers to produce depth in the photograph. When you travel to cities like Kolkata or Delhi, Rajasthan, anywhere, I think the Indian architecture or the architecture that we have in here, they are mostly symmetrical. Talk about Taj Mahal, talk about Victoria Memorial right here, talk about this bridge. The symmetry here is amazing. So what you can try to do is have that perspective also. It's super easy to blend in that perspective with someone in the frame, like someone walks into there, have them in the rule of thirds or like in top corner or in the center, and you will have a great image. Another thing with perspective is there's no rule. The great rules have been written in like most of the photography books or with the masters have taught us. But the thing that mattered to me, or the things that people are getting interested a lot more these days, is having no rules, you know, just chopping off every single thing that have been told to us in order to take photos from ages. So when I'm trying to do, most of the time I'm using Dutch angle. Most of the time I'm going super close to people. I'm not making myself stuck to the rule of thirds or having people in the center, things like that, you know. You can break the rules. That's the beauty of photography. That's why I enjoy photography a lot more. When you break those rules, you end up creating something new, something fresh for yourself. And that's a little bit more inspiring, and it will help you to keep this passion alive for a little more time, you know. So another perspective that I most of the time do when I'm in the taxis or when I'm walking around is shooting through things, or when I'm in between them. So I'm gonna jump into this taxi because I need to go home, and I'll try to photograph taxi from inside or through taxi. I'll see if I can connect few things. Chalo, chacha. So here I'm getting this uncle in the back foreground and then the yellow taxi in the background. Most of the time you can shoot with this mirror. Thank you so much guys for tuning in to yet another video. I hope this was worth your time, and I'll try to create a few more in this city. And yeah, till then, keep supporting. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much.